All right, for this week's This Matters to Me speech, we have Miss Hoyt. Miss Hoyt has lived almost her entire life on the seacoast in Kittery, Maine. And she's wanted to teach high school math since she was a freshman in high school. She started teaching at Marshwood at age 21, and this is her 31st year teaching high school math, and overall it's her 22nd year at Berwick Academy. And a fun fact about Miss Hoyt is that she married her 7th grade boyfriend and just celebrated their 28th wedding anniversary this year.
I'm ridiculously nervous. So what relaxes me would be a brain warmer. So pick a number between 1 and 10. Multiply it by 3. Divide by the number you started with. Add 7. Multiply by 4. Divide by 8. Square it. Subtract 1. Divide by 6. Double it. Square it. Subtract 1. And divide by 7. That was you. That was all you. It was 9. I'll give you candy in class today. All right. Good job. All right. So this was unexpected that I was going to speak today. This is a change in plans because I had to switch with somebody. And it's serendipitous, to say the least, that I wrote the speech a while ago before I knew I was going to be doing this today, and definitely before I really realized how actually meaningful, profoundly meaningful it would be for today, one of the most nerve-wracking days of my fairly long life, and it's really going to inspire me to walk the walk. So a few weeks ago, when Alyssa was preparing her What Matters to Me speech, she asked me what I was going to talk about in my speech, and because I didn't know, I asked her neuro class to guess. They offered me an assortment of viable possibilities, like math and arts and crafts and brains and neuroscience. And while these are topics that wildly interest me, they are not what matter to me. What matters to me is something that forms the foundation of my life, my peace, my growth, and my humility. What matters to me is forgiveness. The power and the freedom of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a pardon. Forgiveness is the release, however, of resentment and anger. It is not reconciliation. It is not condonement. It isn't weakness, submission, or agreement. Forgiveness is, however, vitally important for the mental health of those who've been hurt. It propels you forward, rather than keeping you emotionally engaged with an injustice or a trauma. Forgiveness can elevate your mood, enhance optimism, and guard against physical and mental illness. Because neuroscience does interest me, I'm going to explain, but still, it's not the brain that matters to me. Forgiveness is what matters to me. Harboring anger and resentment triggers the body to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol when the offending person, place, or institution comes to mind. A steady stream of those chemicals can lead to stress, anxiety, and chronic illness, as well as decreasing your ability to think clearly, creatively, and problem solve. Forgiveness, on the other hand, offers many positive psychological and neurological changes, such as reducing activity in the amygdala, alleviating unhealthy anger, boosting the production of the calming neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin, repairing potentially valuable relationships, and growing as a compassionate person. In addition to personal benefits, modeling forgiveness for others may lead to intergenerational and even societal improvement. Studies have found that the act of forgiveness can reap huge rewards for your health, lowering the risk of heart attack, improving cholesterol levels and sleep quality, and reducing pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, anxiety, and depression. Forgiveness is not just about saying the words, however. It is an active process in which you make a conscious decision to let go of negative feelings, whether the person deserves it or not. Let me repeat that. Whether the person deserves it or not. Several years ago, when a dear friend of mine was struggling with her relationship with her mother, I asked her if she had considered forgiving her. Without a split-second pause, she said, "She doesn't deserve it." While I entirely agree with her, the fact was that she deserved it. The bottom line is that you deserve it. As you release the anger, resentment, and hostility, you begin to feel empathy, compassion, and sometimes even affection for the person who harmed you. Okay, story time. Several years ago, I discovered that an adult, a powerful adult, was quite unkind to one of my sons. Heartless, actually, close-minded, unfair, to my child, and it was going to have lasting consequences for his life. This is one of the hardest things you'll experience as a parent. The resentment was all-consuming and overwhelming, but yet I had to see this person on a daily basis. It was toxic, to say the least. The feelings of anger, resentment, and injustice owned me. I was not free to be my authentic, loving self. I was aware of the damage it was causing me, but I could not right it until I made a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. Eventually, after heaping helpings of pain, I chose to genuinely and actively forgive this person, for real, in my heart, in my soul, and I did it for me. Long story short, we are now remarkably supportive and authentic friends today. I forgave, and apparently this person forgave me as well, forging a lovely friendship that I cherish today. And on a side note, a few years after letting go of this resentment, my son confessed that he had played a huge part in the situation, owning his part of the problem. And I was just so grateful that I had already forgiven. Next on the docket is my father. He once had a joyful and generous soul. He was the life of the party. Unfortunately, he also suffered from substance use disorder. He was a very difficult human being, father, unavailable, untrustworthy, unpredictable. He was not a positive role model. Thank goodness that I realized, again, after years of heaping helpings of pain and frustration, that he was ill. He had a mental disorder. It was a blessing and a gift to forgive him entirely so that I could live in complete freedom from his inability to be the father that I needed. He did the best he could. Forgiving him fully and truly was for me. It wasn't for him. We don't have a relationship any longer, but I hold no negative feelings. I love him truly, deeply, and I wish him peace. Now for the good news, studies have shown that some people are just naturally more forgiving than others. Consequently, they tend to be more satisfied with their lives and have less depression, anxiety, stress, anger, hostility. And on the other hand, people who hang on the grudges are more likely to experience severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as other dangerous health conditions. Thankfully, there is so much hope in neuroplasticity. You can train your brain to be more forgiving and compassionate. It just takes practice to forge new neural pathways. Forgiveness is a choice. You can choose to offer compassion and empathy to the person who hurt you, to those who voted differently than you, to those who hold different values than you do. Walk the walk. That does not imply that they will be part of your life necessarily. What it does guarantee, however, is your freedom. Please take a moment now to close your eyes and bring to mind a person, place, or institution that you harbor a resentment towards. And now visualize yourself wrapping them in a cloud of empathy and compassion. Hard, isn't it? But just imagine the possibility of forgiving them. Not for them, but for you, for your emotional freedom. Finally, the person in my life that is the very hardest to forgive, nearly impossible, frankly, is me. As a human being, I have made mistakes, many, many mistakes. So have you. So will you. So will I. Moving forward, though, I will not have a moment of peace or authentic joy until I forgive myself. I don't regret the past. and I don't wish to shut the door on it. It brought me to where I am today. The act of forgiving includes forgiving yourself. Please forgive yourself. Now, it's unclear who first made this statement, but it certainly resonates with me. Holding a resentment for someone is like drinking a poison, hoping the other person will die. Jumping to conclusions and holding a grudge is literally like locking yourself in prison for a crime that you think someone else committed. When you forgive, you set a prisoner free, only to discover that that prisoner was you. Thank you for listening.